Morning, everybody. How you all doing? It is November the 8th. It's my brother's birthday. Happy birthday, Timo. It's my man out there, 50 grand, doing his thing. Um, what, the easy one to figure out, it was all about the election. The election Tuesday, I said it was not going to be a blue wave, it was going to be a blue tsunami. That's what we got going on Tuesday. However, it's not over. This is just minor pickings from the fruit or crumbs, if you will, on the table. The big dog is next year, obviously, it's the true midterms. The question is, are we going to get to that? Seeing what happened on Tuesday, I know makes folks very uncomfortable because that could be on a much grander scale. There were more people that voted this go around than they have in a very long time. I can't say ever. I won't say ever. I won't say it. Such a huge affirmative, like such, or absolute, I should say. But I will say in a very long time. I will get into those details a little bit later. Uh, it was interesting. It was very interesting to see. I wasn't nervous about it. I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be. We're operating now fully under. It pains me to even think about it, but the way that the country is moving, it seems more like a regime than an administration. Let's be clear about that. Let's be honest. It really does. The SCOTUS moved on Friday to support the administration's, the regime's petition against a lower court's ruling that said that the government had to fully fund SNAP benefits. We'll talk about that. We truly have people hurting that don't need to hurt. That's my issue with all of this. That is that's my chieftain issue with all this. Rodney often says, we have more food in this country. We have more than enough food in this country to feed everybody in this country, which we do. We produce a whole lot of freaking food. Remember, if we were producing food to give to nations in Africa, we were producing food to give to nations in South America, Central America. Where the hell all that food go? What happened to it? We have more than enough food in this country to feed everybody, and no one should have to go hungry. But for the administration, the regime, to insist upon that, that's lunacy. Or is it a move on the big chessboard to make and pressure others to do what they want them to do? I believe that's what it is, to be honest with you. I don't believe any of this is by accident. I believe all of this is by design. Look at how they're moving. We're not in a recession. Jobs are not being created like they once were. Had that conversation. I think I shared this last week. Had that conversation with somebody because we were talking and he was talking about how uh, folk need to get out and get a job. And again, I press back on where the hell they gonna work at. When you have adults working jobs that teenagers usually work because the adults can't afford to put adequate food on the table because the adults cannot afford to keep the lights on. You looked at your water bill lately? Have you looked at your gas bill, your electric bill? If you're fortunate enough to have one provider, your gas and electric bill. Have you looked at your car insurance? Everything is up. And it doesn't help when you have an administration regime who are hell bent on lifting away, peeling back controls to prevent things from that, like that, from happening. Meaning, they are very open to mergers. Well, what does that do to the consumer? Mergers make it hard on the consumer. Why? Because there's not enough players in the field to check prices, to keep prices in check. If there's only two players, if there's only one player, they can set the price at whatever the hell they want to set the price. I said this before. God bless Spirit Airlines. Y'all can say what y'all want to say about Soul Plane. But Soul Plane keeps prices low. Why? Because somebody's are on those planes, and every company wants to make as much money as they possibly can. So they will keep their prices in check in order to lure those customers away from Spirit to go on to them. Now, y'all go to hell with Frontier. Now, Frontier is, oh, good Lord, that's a problem. That's a whole problem. That's why if Frontier buys Spirit, they will be rebranded as Spirit. Frontier will go away. They will not keep that name. They will not. That name will go away. I can almost guarantee you that they are a freaking nightmare. Spirit has become a better product. So if you buy that product, why would you not let yours go to get that name and taste out of people's minds and mouths and go with the better product, right? But that's neither here nor there. Tuesday, again, first time voting here in Georgia. I was impressed. I didn't know how it was going to go. I don't know if I really had a preconceived notion about it either, but it went well. Went very well. Got off work, slid through, got in the ballot box. It was fairly easy. Did my thing. Now I was concerned, not gonna lie, because it was so smooth. I was like, shit, people ain't coming out. So me being me, I talked to the lady. I said, hey, you all been busy today? She said, oh my goodness, yes. It's been just constantly busy. It hasn't been a massive rush, but we've been consistently busy. We may get a 2 minute, 3 minute lull, and then there's another group of people to come in, and we'll get a minute maybe, and then there's another group of people coming in. So we have to really be consistent. It's been busy all day, and in my mind, I was like, yes, people are coming out. Now again, I challenge people. I encourage people to vote, regardless. It's a civic duty, right? Whoever you choose to vote for, you choose to vote for. I don't have to agree with that, but I do hope that everybody who was able got up and voted. So I get in there, I do my thug dizzle, my nizzle, and it really wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all. Like I didn't realize it wasn't that many damn elections going on because this really is an off year. So I'm pretty sure the ballot is going to be massive next year. But get in, do my little boop, 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 and I'm done. I'm like, okay, smooth. Got my little sticker. Got my sticker there. Make sure I got my sticker. So I can show off a little bit. Yes, I voted. I did. And I rolled out. So again, I get back to the lab, flip on the television, and I'm flipping. I'm between CNN, MSNBC, Fox. I'm going through all of them, just trying to gauge the evening. I was shocked how soon the Virginia race was called. I honestly thought that wasn't going to get called till about 10 o'clock. But when those numbers started coming in and the gains in districts that usually are not won by Democrats, but they still weren't won, but the performance was better. I was like, ooh, this could be a problem. Now, if you remember, the lieutenant governor there, no, that's not true. The state attorney, thank you, the AG. That was contentious because the brother, somewhere along the line, allegedly said something out of his mouth he shouldn't have said. So that was thrown up in during the election. You know how that go. That's politics. That's what it's going to be. But anyhow, he actually pulled it out as well. They, I was like, wow, okay. So now I'm looking at New Jersey because for whatever reason, our country has yet to really warm up to the fact of women being in seats of power as a norm. It happens every now and again, but as a norm, we've not really warmed up to that. So I was like, maybe the Democrats will win Virginia. I don't know about New Jersey. Yeah, because folks do well in New Jersey. If you don't know, I'll read the comment in a half a second. If you don't know, New Jersey is seen by many as a suburb, especially northern New Jersey, seen as a suburb of New York City. There's a lot of folks from New York who take their dough and they move to New Jersey. Taxes are better. You can get more property for your dough, things of that nature, right? So I'm thinking those money folks are being very protective of their money. What we saw, though, was something different. It was something extremely different. Even if you go to Pennsylvania, and again, we'll go into detail about all this stuff here shortly. Even if you go to Pennsylvania and the election that happened there, it was it was very interesting. So Jamar, morning, bro. Jamar said Democrats kicked ass on Tuesday. Total rebuke of Trump and Republicans. Yes, there's no other way of saying it. It was definitely a steamroll. It was a tsunami, not a wave, and it was nice to see it felt like the Empire Strikes Back, but it wasn't the Empire. It was the Jedi. So I guess this was Return of the Jedi ish. You know what I'm saying? And uh, because of what we've gone through, because of what we're going through still, again, we're still talking about tariffs. We're still talking about another speedboat was destroyed by the US military just the other day. We're still talking about the deployment of National Guardsmen. Rashi's on morning says, and her best friend slash girl, lover, whatever, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders just committed her National Guard to Washington D.C. How does that? What was that for? What is that about? But then you put that together with the fact that some folks in the administration have now moved to military installations. They are getting their pieces in place to protect them because they fear there's going to be chaos in the streets. That's what this is about. They fear that there's going to be chaos in the streets, so they are trying to insulate themselves and protect themselves from that chaos. But the question is, what are the guardsmen going to do? Men being gender neutral, ladies. What are the guards people going to do? Are they going to fight with the people, or are they going to protect the players or the puppet masters, if you will? I'm not 100% sure, and that is an issue, But it's one of those things that we are going to have to cross. Well, that's not true. We don't have to cross that. Hopefully, we don't cross that plateau. But if we do, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. You know, with their plans, the administration's plans to bring more troops back from Asia and or Europe, what does that look like? Are they going to employ those folks or are they going to dismiss those folks? Because there's a point where there's saturation here in America. We have the folks where we have them at for a reason. There's not enough housing. There's not enough facilities. Period. For all those folks to come back to America and just be here. That's not going to work. Do you want your tax dollars to pay for an additional 1,000 people to be housed off base? In San Francisco, in New York City, in Miami, and places of the like where rent is high as hell. I don't know about that one, Jay. I ain't feeling that one. Not at all. And then if they do that, why are they doing that? Are they doing that because they're using those military installations as marshaling areas? They're trying to build up the troops just in case the people take to the streets? It's a good question. I don't know. But these are the questions that we need to think about because, again, this is not an administration. This is a regime. And the way they're moving, it's very dangerous to the average person. The average person. Look at how they're moving again against SNAP benefits. We know that the majority of SNAP. That's not true. SNAP benefits disproportionately go to red states. That's what I wanted to say. Disproportionately go to red states. Red states are his people. And he's saying he doesn't even want to take care of his people. If he don't want to take care of his people, what the hell make you think he want to take care of your ass? What the hell makes you think that he cares about your ass? If he ain't taking care of his people, these are his people. These are the folks that voted for him. These are the folks when you ask them about simple civic questions, they have no clue because they believe in Trump. But these are his people. And he said, starve their asses. And here's the thing. This is where Brother Barry comes into play with this. Here's the thing. It does not have to be black and brown people to start acting out. What happens when the white folks start acting? What happens when the white folks get so frustrated at their current state of affairs that they just start acting out? And they create yet again, unfortunately, another George Floyd, another Philando Castile, another you name it, fill in the blank. Sandra Bland. Just what happens? What happens when these are we just supposed to take it? Or are they going to use them as proxies to kick things off so that they can then feel justified or behave justified about saving their own? Well, we had to do that because our people were under attack. What happens? I'm playing chess, not checkers, y'all. I'm thinking about this thing and extrapolating it out, looking at the long haul, thinking how strategically some folks would move. That's how I'm thinking. The family's here. Everybody's here. Good Lord have mercy. That's what's happening. Morning, Sister Rashi. How you doing? Morning, Brother Barry. How you doing?
Man, word up, man. I'm doing good.
That's what's up. Rodney. Whoa, what's up, bro? Did you got the conjunction, what's your function shirt on?
You know it.
What's your function?
Boom.
I'm loving it. I love that sky too, bro. I'm loving that sky. I'm digging it. We all represent this morning.
One that you have on.
Oh, look, stop.
Or one that Brother Barry
has I finally found the post office near me, believe it or not. Just the other day. I got it. I got you. I didn't forget none of you all. I got Thomas got his. I gave Thomas his when we were together. Yeah, well, we were together, Rodney. I gave him his. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I made sure he got his.
No, it's okay. It's
just my feelings. Then he's gonna talk about I'm taking it off because it don't match my outfit. You know how I do. My hat's gotta match my outfit. I'm like, God dang, bro. Okay. Well, you know I was coming. You know, you couldn't have a damn outfit that match that. Like seriously.
Hey, listen, man. I can help us with the sweatshirts.
Okay.
You send me the logo, I can get the sweatshirts.
Okay, that's what's up. All right, got you.
So getting back to my sky.
Oh my God.
Well, you know, I'll see you in a couple weeks, but it'll get there before I get there.
Sharp here. You know, I mean, that's representing right there. And look, Brother Lee representing all of us. Isn't that something, Sister Rashi? The two brothers looking sharp, huh?
Okay, and what I got to do to fit in. I don't wear hats, but if y'all could give me hell, I put the damn hat on at this point. I don't think I ever wore hats because my ears stick out from the side. I be looking like Barack Obama's long lost daughter that he had back on Michelle, behind Michelle's back. But so I don't ever wear. I have to tuck my ears in, Brother Barry. I have to get one big enough to tuck these flappers in. It's a personal issue. But brothers, I am so glad to see us all here today. I feel like I got so much to learn today, and I can't wait to get my learn on.
Well, I mean, it really is all about the election, to be honest with you. I mean, there are notes upon notes upon notes that I wrote about the damn election. And
Mandani.
Hey, don't mess with the great Zohan. You know what I'm saying?
Have y'all seen all the different ways? Wait, have y'all seen all the different ways they've been saying his name? Hey,
Yes.
y'all gotta go to the thing where they go Zohan Mambadi,
Yeah.
Zabin Beam Phoebe, Zareen Mandalani.
Now,
Man, it's a
so
whole page full of messed up pronunciation. I told them get ready, baby, because they barely had got Barack. They was calling him Galako Dongus. They was calling him Falak Baramas. They did their
Wow.
best to mess up that man's name, and so, but it's a good thing. Just the name, when a name can be different from Tim Scott and William Jones and Mike Johnson, and when you get Zoralan Balandani, then you know that is something tide is changing in the sentiment. Because hey, white folks used to be to where if they can't say your name, that's it. They can't say your name. They can't hire you because they don't want to be talking about Lakeisha. Trinique, Trinique. Just don't hire her. I can't sit there all day fucking her name up. So if
mm,
your name can be a part of the hire or non hire or fire, just because they don't literally your name ain't Lee. They can't get it. They can't break it down to Rod or Tom or Thomas or whatever. But your name is Jarvishell Marquise. Uh, take your ass on, Jarvishell. We're not doing it. So I am so glad that we have matured past Barack Obama, and we ready for Zohan Mamarami.
So I will say that I think that this was just about people being courageous to offer something different.
yes.
And I think that's really what it boiled down to. And I mean, he's in New York City, so they're used to a heavy
Boom.
list of ethnic people. No different than California, where they have a lot of Latinos who are elected officials as well, or Japanese Americans, or what have you, because that's just part of what's in the culture, right? In the Midwest where we're at, he probably wouldn't have won because of his name structure. And then we had a guy running here who did actually look like the dude from Captain Jack. I mean, just being real. If you look at Fatah, he looked like the dude who said, "I'm the captain now." Just go look at dude, and then go back and take a look. I'm just being honest. Like they kept on saying it. I'm like, y'all just really don't know how this thing work in the Midwest. He looks like Captain Jack. He looked like the pirate, and then dude looked like Captain Jack, the mayor of Minneapolis, and that's why he ended up losing. But what I will say about this election that I think that a lot of people slept on was folks are tired of safe ideas. You can't be speaking safe in this environment against extremism, right? So this whole idea, and I know that they were saying inside of Virginia, and they were saying inside of New Jersey, it was like, oh, this because these people are moderates. It's like, no, it's not because they were moderates. They were
Not at all.
talking common sense, and they were talking common sense and like straight up in your face, let me take it to you style of politics. Where moderates typically don't talk that type of aggressiveness, right? They were more aggressive. These ladies were more aggressive in their campaign. So kudos to them. Oh, another shout out to Mississippi. A shout out to the folks over there inside of Georgia, Alabama. Like you have black folks winning in places that they typically don't win in. Oh,
Yes.
and look, in Miami, they may have a Democratic mayor for the first time in 30 years that was forced into a runoff, another blue spot. So people are being more aggressive in this particular wave of it. I do want to tip my cap to Mayor Carter, who lost here in the Twin Cities. But I do want to say one thing about Mayor Carter and other black politicians to follow. If you are too close to this man in Chicago and you see how he's speaking truth to power, as a black elected official, you're going to have to step to the podium and speak that verbiage. That's what's going to keep your voters rocking with you, and that's what's going to keep other people off your neck. If you can't talk truth to power, right? And no disrespect, because I like Mayor Carter, but I don't think he talked enough about what the people in St. Paul was going through at the hands of what's going on in D.C. Because you have to remember, Minneapolis is not the capital city here in Minnesota. It's St. Paul. And so if the governor is insane and they coming after the governor, it's coming after your city because you're right there where the capital is at, right? So you have to talk that talk. The other thing that I want to say too is that black leadership has to understand now pageantry is done. It's not about how good you look on Instagram. It's not how good you look at the black galas, the black balls, and all of these other things. You must make sure your constituents rise when you rise. Because when you listen to Manami speaks, he's talking about everybody inside of uh, New York rising as he rises. He's talking about making transit free. He's talking about free universal daycare for everyone there. But he talked to each specific group, right? Like the Uzbekistan nurses, and he pointed out different people and he understood their struggle. If you're not running like that, right? The former slogans that we used to have, and I want us to understand this as a collective, those things don't work no more. You can no longer run off of the capital from the 60s. You're going to have to step up and you're going to have to bring it. And they're going to want receipts. So I thought this was a great election.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that he proposed that he'll never get through, but I agree with you. You
Like
know,
what?
he played it the way Trump has played it, but I think he has positioned himself to give space for more actual deliverables. So even though everything may not come to fruition, he can show that he fought the good fight and it wasn't allowed to happen. Now, that is something that has been missing for some time. To your to your point, you know, folk need to be very specific when there are specific folks, specific, not Pacific, it's specific, okay, just so you all understand. Very specific to the audience that is around them. We've seen folk go out here and gotten too big for their damn britches and they fallen short.
Yeah.
Um, Stacy. But anyhow, what we need
Man,
are folks that are
you
focused.
gotta bring my girl into it.
Yeah, that's right. Folks that are focused on their constituents at home. Do what you need to do. I'm glad that Westmore sat his ass on the bench and said, you know what, this ain't the time for me to start running out there and run for president. I hear people calling my name, trying to chirp, but this ain't it. I need to get another gubernatorialship and win here in the state of Maryland, and then we can go from there. What he's trying to do, building that coalition of votes and voters whom potentially are a microcosm of the entire nation. And then he can then dip his toe in and say, okay, maybe it's 2032 that he goes, like, he's still young. He has plenty of freaking time.
Yeah. No,
You
that's
know
right.
what I mean? And he will not get stuck. Uh, he will go through this fight. When he wins, whatever he wins, he can always say he was a champion for the people. He'll bring business jobs back to the state of Maryland and
Mm.
then go. So, yep, I'm with you without a doubt. Let me go to some facts though, and we can continue to talk about our opinions and other things of the like. Most polls show that this election was about. Let me think. The economy, stupid. It was all about making things affordable and affordability, and the fact that folks are not delivering on that like they promised during the election that we had last year on a national stage was the motivating factor for folks to get out. There were wins in New Jersey by Abigail Spanberger.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. My apologies. My apologies. Let me retract that. Not New Jersey, Virginia. Virginia. My apologies. Let me correct myself. Mike Sherrill won in the great state of New Jersey. We already talked about Zoran Mondani in New York City.
Yeah.
Half the voters in Virginia said the economy was the motivating factor for them to come out to vote. 6 in 10 voters in New Jersey said that the economy was their motivating factor, affordability, and more than half of the voters in exit polls in New York City said that they had similar motivating factors, which puts them out the door to boom. To speak on that, continue in New York City, there were more than 2 million votes cast in New York City this go around. That's the most votes they didn't had in God knows how long. In over 60 years, or right about 60 years, that's the most votes that have been cast in New York City. That's a lot of freaking votes. That's a lot of folks. That's folks that stood in line for a very long time and or got up super damn early or got the hell off work and took time from them going home to get something to eat and be with their families to stand in line and to go participate in the process. So
That's
big
why
ups,
it's
you
the
know what I'm
ice.
saying?
It's the ice response.
Hmm.
I think what people fail to realize, because I know we talk a lot. I saw Brother Jamar say he doesn't like the idea, the populist line. I think it's ice. I think people watching their neighbors, their coworkers, their family, their friends being snatched up, manhandled, mask on. You're talking about a place in New York where you had, you know, they were right there in 9/11. And you
Right.
talking about violating people's rights, right? You're talking about violating people's rights. And then you start talking about the economy on top of that. And who knows Donald Trump better than New Yorkers?
Hmm.
So when you take that into consideration, then what we have not talked about is New York has had corrupt. Listen, the last two mayors in New York, how has it ended? Okay,
Uh, Controversy.
okay, all right. And so you have to look at it from that vantage point. The other side of it too is, and this is what I was hoping other people would check out. Look at the total inside of Virginia and in New Jersey, which I found interesting. Donald Trump won Virginia by 6%, and he won New Jersey by 6%.
Hmm.
He's not on the ballot, and they lose. I'll contest again and say there's something about his name, the algorithm, and what happens when he's on the ballot. It's not people voting for him, and I know people aren't going to get that. I know the idea to make him seem like he's this unbeatable guy, but I will say history will be undefeated when it really comes out on how him and Elon has been handling the election. And it's a microcosm. And by the way, who better than Virginians who lost all of their jobs? Because you got to think about the tax base too, because those are the people who work inside of DC. You either stay in, you stay in the Maryland
Yep.
area, you stay in the Virginia area, right? So you're going to change your tone. You're going to change your tone. You're going to have a different look. So I will say, man, this was like elections where it did not matter what people put on their campaign slogan. This is like real kitchen table. This is real utility, real mortgage, real, hey man, they repo my car.
I'm
This
about to lose my house.
reality TV. This is some real reality
Right.
TV, right? This was
What
the
you
reality TV
what you
election.
mean I can't go to chicken and cocktails twice a week? What kitchen and cocktails twice? What you mean I can't go to brunch every week on Saturday and Sunday? What you mean? Yeah,
And it
fool,
might
because you
we're
got
not even
furloughed.
talking we're not even talking per se the extras. If shit hit the fan, we're supposed to be able to fall upon the American government. But at this point, the housing is frozen, the
Mhm,
food stamps are off, the
mhm,
Medicaid is unobtainable. So we're not talking. I mean, yes, I'm down because I like a Buffalo Wild Wing too. But the issue is, I can't even get one of them big old L chicken. I call it L chicken when it's the thigh and the leg together. I can't even
Okay.
get one of them L chickens no more because instead of us getting them from the food pantry, where you can get a whole 10-pound bag for your family for the week, now it's so many people that they are opening up the bag and you getting 2 and 3 L chickens per family instead of the whole 10-pound bag. The line is too long, and they want to be able to feed us all. I mean, it done got serious out here where people who used to be able to afford that food you was talking about, Lee, now they are at my food pantry standing in front of me looking mad and sad because they got to be standing next to me. And so that is what really is hitting America. The pay that you remember you saying paycheck to paycheck, and
Right.
that we're one tragedy or one illness or one something away from our real reality as Americans, not middle class, but actually the delusional lower class. As soon as
Hmm.
that delusion wears off, brothers, and you find yourself in the line with Rashid, in her little Aldi's bags, because she knew she was gonna be there. Teacher salaries ain't been shit for the last anyway. So when you find yourself in the line with
All the
Rashid, because you don't go in there, don't make them give you them bags. Go and take, you come in the bag, bring your beggar's bowl. Every beggar knows to show up with hands upturned. You come in a humble. And that's actually what some of this is. People who have never had to be humble before are now, they ain't been humble. Let's say this again, Mr. Rodney. They ain't been humble since 2000 and when did Obama, what was that, 2008, 2009, when we hit,
2008.
mortgage crisis.
when we hit that bubble, when we hit that ridiculous bubble, when people was looking around saying, ah, okay, that was the
Yep.
last time they had the true upturned beggar's bowl. And so since I keep my bowl upturned, I'm looking around in the line and I'm like, who's she? She wasn't here last time, but she come in with her needs for 4 and 5 kids because the government used to help her with them 4 and 5, but they didn't turn them on this month. And so she's in the line with me, Lee, trying to get 4 bags. She can't even carry all of them herself. She didn't even think she gonna need the cart. So this is the seriousness of being finding out. Oh damn, I'm poor. I gotta now make an 8:30 appointment down to the housing authority. They're not gonna house me this month or next month or probably this year. But if I don't put my name on the list, I'll never, they won't even know I'm out here flailing in the wind.
True
So
that.
it's some real decisions being made, and ain't none of them hardly medical. They just show up in the emergency room on death's door, Lee, and hope for a miracle. So that's
True
what we
that.
got. That's what we got. And when you realize that you in line with 1,000 other people at the hospital. There's 1,000 other people at the housing authority. There's 1,000 other people at the food pantry. There's 1,000 other people at the Philando Castile food collection line. And you say, oh, and that's when the nation said, oh shit. And then everybody went out to go try to fix it at the poll. But it's not gonna work like that, brothers. I'm just telling you, when you break an economy, a politician can't fix it that easy. It takes some more shit. It takes some government, federal, uh, it takes some what they call it, pork, not pork earmark. What do you call it when you put
Pork
your
barrel
in the,
spending. Pork barrel
huh?
spending. It's called
You know
pork
what?
barrel spending.
Okay, thank you, brother. Don't you know I'm in special needs, but thank you for having it up under there. It take a federal government willing to sprinkle some little extra, and then you start seeing the uptick. Because that's what it took Obama to do after we crashed out in '08.
Yeah.
So it ain't gonna be no one dude, not Trump, not nobody, not Newsom, Gavin, nobody. Somebody gonna have to slowly loosen that purse string on the federal budget, and that's contra to that's everything they don't want to do. So what are we on?
So I think they're gonna have to do two things. I think the first thing that they're gonna have to do once about 26, 28, by 28, they're gonna have to expand the Supreme Court because they're gonna have to rinse out the other Supreme Court. They're gonna have to add 4. And you gotta have 13, and you gotta add 4 more left-leaning justices so you can fix you gotta wipe out what's there because it's corrupt. That's the first
Hold
thing.
on. Finish that, and I got something to add to that.
Well, because you're gonna have to change some things in the Constitution. You're gonna have to, but because you got to put term limits, and you got to,
Okay.
and hold on, let me finish. Because you got to
Okay.
because you got to really change campaign financing, and
Okay.
this country, see, this is where we're talking about Democrats. If you really want change, or do you really want to be back here 12 years from now?
Okay. So let's get to Pennsylvania because we haven't gone there, and that bleeds into what I wanted to say and I wanted to bring up. So I appreciate you going there. But let's not go too far because Marlon said some things that were right, spot on. I'm sticking by seeing active duty service members in food bank lines. Now, let's be clear. Unfortunately, there are a number of times that active duty members have taken to food stamps because I just don't get paid enough. And you know that. As a military member, we don't make enough money. You know, you get young kids to go in the military, they join the military specifically to have a family and they start having 3, 4 children, they can't afford 3, 4 kids, even if they're living in base housing. They definitely have to go on food stamps. So that's nothing new, unfortunately. You said also said SCOTUS should be 6 versus 6. Okay, term limits are needed. Lifetime appointments are part of the problem. I agree with that. But again, let's go to Pennsylvania. So one of the things that I don't think a lot of people paid attention to was the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania. The Supreme Court in Pennsylvania was on the, let me say this clearly for everybody, the ballot this year. So in Pennsylvania, if you are elected or selected, I don't know how the hell they get in there, to be a Supreme Court justice, every 10 years, you face the voters for what they call a retention election. At that point, the voters say, yes, we want to keep you. No, you have to go. And then the process of putting someone in your seat then thus begins. I think that is a compromise for the Supreme Court. We may not necessarily have to expand it to 13, 14, 12, whatever, but we should put it to the people. Every X amount of years, the people should be able to vote and see if them motherfuckers still deserve to be in that seat or not. Because if the people were to vote, I can almost guarantee you that your boy Thomas would have been gone a long time ago.
But you got to change the
Yeah,
Constitution.
I'm not sure,
But you
but
got to,
Robert's ass is in jeopardy right now, big time, and he would be gone.
but you got to change the Constitution for that. And what I'm
And I'm
saying,
fine with that.
and what I'm saying is that's a lot different when it's on a state level compared to this the main one inside of DC. Those are two different things.
But you would have to do the same thing and add more people to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, you're going to have to do that. But the reason why you have to add more is because you still have the lifetime. Because you even if you put term limits, they're going to still be able to sit there for a certain term. But if you add 4 right away, you can put the 4 in that you want. And if you put the 4 in that you want, you can change all of those other things.
Right.
Same equation. It's just all about where do you do the math in the equation, right? What is the order operation? And you have to change those things because in order to get it right and to get rid of the money that's flooding already into politics, they're going to have to be able to strip that and put term limits. And hey, may I say it, and I'm not trying to be an ageist, but they're going to have to put age limits on it as well. And that might also need to happen inside of Congress and the Senate, because what we're getting is we're getting lifelong politicians who are making a lot of money, but they're not governing or they're not ruling on. And when I mean ruling, I'm talking about the courts.
Right. They're not making a difference.
They're not doing it for the people. They're doing it for their own coffers. And that's what happens when you have these different interpretations, right? Based off of, hey, the law says I can't do it, but no one ever said my spouse can do it, right?
Right.
And so you have a lot of that going on. And if you shift it, you can shift. You only get one time to do it. Because if the Dems don't do it, right? Like that almost has to be instantaneously. That's what I see. Now, I will say this. In Pennsylvania, another swing state that went whose way? That went Trump's way, right? But look at that vote. How did that vote go for the Supreme Court? Did it go to a left-leaning judge or a right-leaning judge, right? Without Trump on the ballot, right? So I just want people to look at these swing states. Look at what happened in Cincinnati. What happened to Vance's brother? How he fare? Got his ass spanked, right?
Yeah, he got his ass whipped. He got his ass whipped.
Oh, okay. So I'm looking at this overall, and I do like the idea of judicial courts and the Supreme Courts being on the ballot. I think your record should have to speak for itself. And I do think in some type of ways, we've viewed the Supreme Court at one time as the wise old women, right? But what we see them at this point is they are just pretty much whatever the corporations want them to be.
Yeah,
and I don't want to make it seem like it's just the ones on the right, because you can say the same thing about some of the ones that's been on the left too.
Okay, that's fair. Roddy, what do you think? What do you think about the Supreme Court? What do you think SCOTUS reform needs to happen to SCOTUS?
I agree with Brother Barry that it needs to be 13 justices on the court, so it definitely needs to be expanded. I'm not the biggest supporter of term limits because my experience with term limits doesn't jive with what Brother Barry is saying is the effect of term limits. Uh, Locally, when we established term limits, that just means people had to be crooked and get their money quicker. Uh, so it actually it gave more opportunity for more people to be crooked in a given period of time. So with, but I think that the core issue at the moment, because Democrats never really pushed the Supreme Court as major election issues, whereas the former GOP, now MAGA party, did,
Right.
is that the bottom line is if you want change on the court, the only way to do that is to expand the court, put five liberal, I don't like using the term conservative or liberal, but put five justices, or excuse me, four justices on the court that are about doing the people's business as defined from their interpretation of the Constitution.
Yeah.
You caught me mid swig. Well,
But that's what they say they doing, Lee. If you ask a if you ask Justice Jackson right now,
Mhm.
she's not about to tell you that she's a handmaiden for the billionaires. She's not going to tell you that she's accepted some bribe. I don't think she has. What she has to do is follow the law. Like they're justices because they push the rule of law. And unfortunately the law is it but changed law don't come from justices. Changed law comes from precedents that in other cases from the past that end up changing how something works.
not
Like when
according to not according to
it's not
Thomas. He says precedent don't matter.
it's not top down, it's bottom up.
No,
It's
it's top
bottom
down.
up.
No, it's top down. If you really look at everything that we gotten in this country, we got it through the courts, and the courts matter. And if you look at everything that we're about to lose, we're losing it through what? The courts. Because typically what happens is the courts give the politicians, the ability to hide their hands. And so, I'm trying to figure out what rule of law made them say that corporations are humans too.
Or that they can the Supreme Court is right now supporting the halting of food stamps. Like what is happening legally?
And your girl Ketanji Brown is the one
And
that
she's
said
a
it
part
was
of that.
true.
So it has to be something major to make her say it is legal not to feed Americans.
I'm not
So we have to so instead of demonizing the individual, can we also
Rashi, when
figure out
people
what the
are hungry,
reasoning, what our logic is?
but what? Listen, when somebody's hungry, fuck your logic and fuck your reason. You eating and whatever you talking about, nobody wants to hear it, and that's part of the problem. It's that the Supreme Court, and I'm saying right and left at this point, because it is also your peers. You got to think about your peers. You're around these people just as much as anybody else. I do think that the court should be doing more of the people's bidding. And it seems like at this point, they're doing more of the special interest bidding. And I'm not saying that all of her rulings, and I don't want to single her out, but I think she's wrong about the SNAP situation. And I think that anytime Trump wants something at the Supreme Court, this shadow docket, which no one talks about, almost per se, it rushes to the top of the line with the Supreme Court. You hardly seen this before. This is different. This is different. They're pretty much taking on everything right away. They're overturning all of the lower court's rulings right away. Right away. And these are things that are impacting masses. And if her face is on it, we got to stop holding the line because we did that with Clarence Thomas. Let's be honest. When Clarence Thomas went through that whole thing with Anita Hill, folks thought Anita Hill was just trying to stop her brother. The fact of the matter is, he's everything that she said he was. A piece of shit. So that's just what it is. And I can't say the same thing with Miss Brown. I mean, we got to stop holding this line when we're seeing people.
You talking about Sotomayor? Sotomayor is not. You think Sotomayor is in a pocket?
I'm not saying Sotomayor is in the pocket. There's not. They don't have enough votes. They don't have enough votes. But I will say again, this ruling against Snap. I mean, this is her ruling. This is her ruling.
Gotta be something, Barry. Please give it the.
But no,
like, come on, Rodney. It has to be something embedded in the economy. It has to. Why would they deny us food? Come on.
You know
why
what?
would they? They know we coming.
You know
they
what?
know we coming. If you don't feed us, Thomas, you know we coming. We hungry. You know about the theory. I told y'all before. Humans get 7 to 9 missed meals. They get desperate. They go for what they know. It starts a cavalcade, not a cavalcade. What do you call it? A domino effect. And next thing you know, the society erodes.
No, y'all listen. I'm gonna tell y'all what y'all sisters say to brothers all the time. No, y'all need to call y'all sister girl up and have a conversation with her. She don't get the benefit of the doubt. Y'all need to check her like y'all want us to check the brothers. Can y'all check her and have a conversation with her about the babies that's gonna be starving while she's gonna be eating that 5-course meal? That's what I'm talking about, because that's part of the issue, is that they are not related to the people. They're more relatable to the corporations. And that's a problem. And it may be more there. But at that moment, she should have let those benefits go, because that's what the law dictates. That's what the law dictates. What they were asking for Trump to do is what the law dictates. This is already laws that's on the books that does not need extra interpretation. And that's part of the problem. Them playing the Bill Clinton, the definition of what your definition of is. That's the game. That's the game that they're playing. And she's right along up there too. And we have to speak for people who don't have it. Sometimes what we always do is we say if a person is educated or they're wealthy, they have to know something more that poor people or uneducated people don't know. But let me tell you, when your stomach is touching your back, you're not trying to look and see what that person got, the letters that person got behind their names, or how much money they got in front of you. You want to know, can I eat? Because I've been paying my taxes into this system. And oh, by the way, while I'm telling you, you can't do this, look at me having look at what what the type of party I'm having, right? You look at the party that he had, and look at what
the ballroom I'm building.
Right, the ballroom I'm building. Now the Gatsby time is actually telling, because it was, if I remember Rodney, in the 20s, and that's when the economy crashed.
Great
real
Depression.
heavy for the first time. Like, is he trying to tell? Like, if you really want to be one of them people who do the crystal ball shit, like when you having a party in reminiscent of the Great Depression, then maybe that's, and then you done already told our children, nigga, you getting 2 toys. I done bust you down to 2. Do you remember that, Lee? Where he said, but she ain't getting but 2 toys this year. She said 2, but he said, look, she ain't gonna have 35 baby dolls. She gonna have 2 baby dolls. Like, he is tempering. He's, in my opinion, he's tempering us to understand that America's broke. Now, which one of us did not kind of have an idea that America might not be doing as good as we thought it was? Because in my opinion, I saw it. I mean, when we was in line for gas, when we was, begging, when we started the migrant visa so they could come over and pick the fruit. Like, there's a reason why people come from other countries to pick our produce, because we didn't want to do it, but the shit was rotten on the vine, and our economy depended on it. So it's so much about what we're doing right now.
It's not that people didn't want to do it. I think that that's another fact that we got to stop saying.
Come on.
That people were doing those jobs. It's just that you got to charge more for them.
Yeah.
And this is about farmers and other corporations, because you have to understand that farming became a corporate thing. and corporations always want to pay the least. And that's why they were bringing the immigrants over, because they can pay them pennies on the dollars. That's one thing. The second thing too, because I know I saw a brother said, what did Justice Jackson do? She overturned the lower court's ruling that Trump had to pay out the SNAP benefits. Trump and company said, well, even they thumbed their nose up at the court. That's the part that nobody's talking about. They thumbed their nose up. That lower court said you need to pay all of the benefits. Trump, they came back and said, oh, we're only going to pay half. And then, oh, we're not going to pay anything. And then she came back and pretty much co-signed like, yeah, we'll just hold that off. You don't have to pay anything for now. We want to hear more. What more do you need to hear?
Right. So, Rodney, you said some folks in Vegas got $12.
Correct.
What is the demand that you two are hearing right now? Is the phone ringing or it's pretty silent right now?
No, phone is ringing like crazy. People want food. And I feel bad because I'm kind of caught up in this app, but people want food, people need food. And we're just a couple of weeks away from Thanksgiving. And so the reality of it is, regardless of the fact of what you could say about the pantries and everything else, this is Congress. This is a congressional problem, because his executive orders, they hold the purse strings. And what Mike Johnson is doing, Mike Johnson needs to be arrested.
Yep.
Mike Johnson needs to be arrested. And I know Donald Trump gets all of the headlines, but what Mike Johnson, cowardice ass, is doing by holding them out, this is what's hurting the country, because technically they control the purse strings. They fund things like SNAP. They do all the funding. Those executive orders really don't mean much if the Congress is doing what they're supposed to do. And that's what we really have to, that's the civics conversation.
It's some House of Cards shit.
No,
Hey, he Francis from House of Cards. Did you watch House of Cards? It's just that somebody had denied him some position, and he got mad, and now he making America hungry. It's some weird bullshit going down, Barry.
So hold on. Let's. I agree with that. Let's go back to Marlon and Jamal's question about the SNAP benefit. So what Brother Barry said, um, the sister paused the benefits. How enraging is that? Think about it. So you have Ketanji Brown's name over the pausing of food benefits for food recipients, people in need. We just said earlier on that disproportionately those benefits go to red states. We also said early on what's going to happen when white folks start acting up. Now, the face of stopping my family from eating is a black female, educated, who has some degree of power over me and my white male masculinity. Think about the psychology behind that move. Think about how that looks and think about how that may feel to some and how they may react
two
to
other black
that.
people, two other black people, two other
Yes,
black people that's in their reach versus her.
correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, that's yeah, man, you gotta it's deep. So then you go and yes, the stay is till Monday. Obviously more needs to be gotten into. This whole thing may spin on a dime uh by Monday afternoon, Tuesday morning, who knows. Yes, Brother Barry, you're absolutely right. The administration thumbed up uh, or middle fingered up the lower court's ruling 100%. Because initially it was ruled they said they were going to do 50%. Then I saw a release they were saying they were going to do 75%. Then the judge came back and said, no, we ain't playing this game. You need to do 100%. Period. There's money there to everybody's point in escrow that could be utilized. Let's get this thing rolling and going. The question I was asked as well on a personal side was, do you think the Dems should cave in and reopen the government? Because the Trump administration's part, yep, you're absolutely. I'm gonna get there, Rodney. You're absolutely right, and I agree with you. Is that they don't feel they should have to fund it because the government isn't open, so they're trying to force the hand for the government reopening via SNAP. I agree with you, Rodney. I said no. And I understand that if you're hungry right now, if you're desperate right now, that's not a good thing to hear. But in every war, and let's be clear, we're at war right now. We're at war for our democracy right now. There are going to be some casualties and consequences. I'm sorry, some casualties in every war. Unfortunately, those who are in need right now are the casualties right now. Because if they do that, the Republicans are going to steamroll them and not allow any other votes to move forward. They crying all this bullshit about the government shutdown. It's the Democrats' fault. Democrats' fault. If the Democrats cave on this, they are going to do the nuclear option on anything and everything to never give the Democrats a inkling of a chance to shut down or stop them yet again. Not an inkling of a chance. So this is not the time for them to cave, unfortunately. And again, I understand. I'm not being heartless, but I'm playing chess, not checkers. And in this case, you got to look at things from that vantage point, especially with these dudes, man. Remember, this stuff isn't some Johnny by lately last night shit that somebody came up with. They have been plotting and planning these moves for years, for decades. You see your boy Steve Bannon up on stage the other day. He said it clearly. He said if the Democrats get back in power, some people in this room are going to jail, including myself. He knows what they're doing is wrong. He knows what they're doing is wrong. I'll say it again. He knows what they are doing is wrong. He knows it. Why else would he fear going to jail if he didn't know that? He knows what they're doing is wrong. They don't care. They do not care.
Mhm.
This is all this is all about the preservation of power, influence, and above all, the continuance of white supremacy in our nation. Period.
I,
Call a spade a spade, that's what it is.
but I think it's time for the Democrats to make their nightmares come true. Let's be honest obsessors of the Democrats. All right, let's assess them properly. Typically, the Republicans pull things 50% to the wrong side of things. The Democrats come in and they'll pull 15% back of the 50%.
Right.
That does not need to happen at this point, y'all. We don't need the Chuck Schumers and the Speaker Jeff. We don't need them to do that. We need that for that 50, you're going to have to pull 100% back the other way. And the reason why you have to do that is if you don't, you're going to always find yourself back here. I thought George W. Bush was the worst president ever until Donald Trump.
You ain't the only one.
Right? And I thought Obama had a hell of a time dealing with the Republicans up under his rule. But this is the worst Senate. This is the worst Congress. This is the worst Supreme Court and the worst presidency all at one particular time. We're talking about all at one particular time. And if you come back and you try to moderate the change, you can't moderate the change. I'll tell you something else that I do believe that the young man in New York has a great idea of. And I think the mayor of Chicago has a great idea of. When you come in, the first people that got to get hit is the corporations that help build that ballroom. You got to hit those corporations upside their heads. And not only do you got to hit them upside their heads, you got to tell them, and we're breaking you up. You're too big to fail. We're breaking you up. Oh, you bought CBS? Oh, that's good. But we're breaking that up too. Hey, sell off those smaller affiliates. We got to make sure that this belongs to the people. Oh, you own Newsmax? You own? Oh, no, you got way too much things. Oh, sell those newspapers off too. We need to sell the newspapers off. This is the only way. And these are laws. Those are the monopoly laws that they had to enforce after the 1920s and 30s to make sure that we are not in this position. Part of the problem is that most Americans don't understand. And that's why I think the Great Gatsby, that party theme, I think if more Americans studied that period of time, they were letting us know that the robber barons are here. We're here to take everything, every industry. Look at Elon. Elon is like, yo, let me go to Tesla, which was, by the way, it's kind of funny. Tesla was just doing dirt bad. And now all of a sudden they're going to give you $1 trillion in stock. Wait till you find out that all of his stock holders are all AI bots.
Mm.
He just put the program in and said, hey, give me all this money. But I'm just saying, $1 trillion in stock. Think about that for a second. And we have never even said that Tesla is worth $1 trillion. No one's never said Tesla is $1 trillion type business, but he has $1 trillion in stock. So that
And
tells you.
and we was boycotting him. We was setting them on fire. We was spraying them with spray paint. We was laughing at people. We was driving them. I thought we had did the best shame. I call it the Amish exile ridicule that we could possibly have done. And so I was wondering how a person like him could finally get $1 trillion motherfucking dollars, even though we had sat there and ridiculed his whole production line. We
Right.
was laughing at the Teslas. We
Mhm.
was even laughing at people with the old Teslas who had just bought into the eco game, which is legit.
Right.
So we got scared of the driverless cars. That was his other thing. And
Mhm.
so how did he squirrel away $1 trillion, my guy? He don't even have oh his affiliations with whoever Trump got him in with. And they on the board or they on the stockholders board.
Mhm.
And then so if you the vice president squared, if you vice president number one, and JD Vance is vice president number two, and then you come in and you got the same affiliations with the guy who's on the board, and then oh okay, well I'll sit back and okay, keep cooking. I'm almost done with my homework.
What are you talking about? I
So,
just
Well,
posted a thing.
I'm just trying to figure out how a man whose product line was a public pariah.
mhm.
We were setting his shit on fire
Right.
and laughing at him and his baby mama drama.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We was doing everything we could to turn that particular individual into, as the Latins say, persona non grata.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
now, and how did he get $1 trillion all of a
So
sudden?
let's be clear. Tesla is no longer an auto manufacturer. Let's be clear about that. Tesla has morphed or grown into most people's main think tank for what it's going to take for humans to live on Mars.
Mhm.
Elon's whole thing, all of this is about life on Mars. All of this, the cars, the robotics, everything, because people will not be able to survive in the elements of life on Mars outside of a self contained world, a bubble, or whatever the hell they're going to build in order for humans to actually live on Mars. They're going to need autonomous trucks in
Mhm.
order to move things. They're going to need autonomous robots to build stuff because humans will not be able to survive in that environment. They were not built like that. So again, let's be clear: Tesla is no longer an auto manufacturer. It's definitely morphed and developed into
Lee,
something much different than what it was.
Lee, you know
And
them
there are a
things can
lot of
blowed up.
folks. Hmm?
Them things is blowed up. Every time he try to send something in the sky, every now and then it just blows up. Last thing he got up there and pulled down was them astronauts. He was
Right.
part of that astronaut recovery team, but everything else is blowing up. Like we
Okay.
so far away from being able to do that mass, The Martian.
But I
We
think
so far from The Martian. We need to go on with that movie. Like what you say, that Kabuki Theater, Thomas,
yep.
because that Martian shit got us thinking we on finna leave something other than planet Earth. It won't happen. You're not going. Hello, Elon. You're not going nowhere. You ain't
So
going nowhere.
so I want to say something that I think we're overlooking. We started off talking about the election results.
Right. And we didn't finish, by the way. I got a couple more things to add.
But I do want to say that the election results is what allows him to pull that money. And there's something you talked about Tesla not being just about cars, but there is a new appointment to the head of NASA or the space program. And that was the guy that Elon initially suggested to Trump. And Trump said no because he had donated dollars to Democrats in the past. Now, after this election, and they got washed, now Trump has to give Elon what he wants. Because the reality of it is, without Elon's programming, they can't manipulate the elections anymore. And I think that that goes hand in hand because if you take in SpaceX and you add SpaceX with NASA and the dollars that go into NASA for space exploration, that does allow Tesla as a whole to grow, right? And you have to take those things into consideration when we're talking about why was he able to pull $1 trillion. And I don't think it's probably something that's going to I would love to see that. I don't think they have $1 trillion. It may be something in the future. But what you're saying, Rashi, is right on point. I think people have to look at it. Now, I think this is the general here. I think she's right about what she's talking about,
That's the general.
yep. What happens when people become desperate and forcing people to rise up. I think that Ketanji Brown just made a poor ruling, and we have to be able to criticize even our own, even if we feel like they're allies. If you can't critique your allies, I don't think that they're allies. I think that that was a poor ruling at a poor time, and sometimes it's best not to be the face of things, right? Like I wouldn't want to be the face of that if I was in her
Hey, we
position.
got to figure this out because I know, Barry, they don't want America torn down. And you know what philosophy seen? We have seen this before. The French showed us. The hungry Africans topple their government every other weekend.
Yeah,
So you know what's finna go down. Now it's gonna be easy to defeat the average Americans because they all about 150 pounds overweight. But some of them old hungry veterans y'all starving out, it's finna start picking up their old service weapons. And it's finna get weird. It's finna get mad weird out here.
but that's what
And
they want. But
Yeah,
honestly, that's
exactly.
they need the excuse and starving people out and the emotional attachment to Thanksgiving, the emotional attachment to Christmas, not being able to provide. Meanwhile, the commercials are going to keep on rolling. The bills are going to keep on rolling. If you're on social media and you don't watch TV, you still going to see the commercials
Yep.
everywhere you go. If you just outside living, you're gonna see the billboards with the new Lexus, and you're gonna see the billboard with the Jared commercial, and then you're gonna see the billboard with somebody's kid getting the toy that your kid or grandkid want, and you can't provide because you don't have a job or you don't have even the bare necessities. And by the way, you're tapping all of the food banks. You're tapping all the emergency assistance programs. You're tapping everything that people need. And meanwhile, we got these black folks, and I have to say that it's very tasteless, making videos mocking people who need food.
Mm-hmm.
That's a growing trend on social media right now.
hey, and what about the other antithesis to that, brother? Have y'all seen how many organizations have started providing smaller
Food.
portion yet considerably less priced food? $5 bags, $4 bags, $3 bags, and instead of when people don't buy those exorbitant portions, people places like Hy-Vee and Price Chopper and Aldi's, they've even started creating their own here come instead of giving it to the pantry for real, they put it in side bags and they give it to customers who need it but don't quite have everything they need. Have y'all seen that uptick of uh, regularly retail or commercial business like Cane's and KFC and well maybe not McDonald's because they don't give a fuck, but other people like uh hey, you gonna get this grain burger bitch. But other organizations who are willing to give you attenuated portions, but for the price that you can afford right here, right now. Have y'all seen that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And we talked I think last week about Costco having that 25-year food sale for $3,000, right? And the idea that Costco is packaging enough food for 25 years, one must think, why would a company package food for 25 years for $3,000, one pallet of food? And so those are the types of things collectively we have to ask. I mean, it's purposely labeled 25 years worth of food.
Mm.
And I think if we're saying it's 25 years, it got to be broken down into smaller rations, et cetera, et cetera. But those are the types of things that I think that Americans have never thought was going to be on their doorstep. Now, I do want to speak to the hope side of things. Hopefully, we get out of this idea about it being about us as individuals and start looking out for one another. Hopefully, it stops being about the vacations that we can take, the galas that we can throw to raise for organizations that are ineffective, and we can start putting that money back into making sure children are eating, making sure that families have what they need, keep the lights on. We can also put more restrictions in on utility companies so they're not raising the prices of utilities. Like, these are things that we could do as people. And if everybody's taking a cut, a hurting, why aren't the corporations taking a hurting? They're using our tax dollars to stay afloat. So why can't they take a loss? That's what I'm hoping comes out of this, where Americans really have a true political awakening. And in the 48 Laws of Power, they said you must despise the free lunch. Well, I will tell you, the free lunch is not knowing your civic duties. The free lunch is not knowing what these bills will do. The free lunch is not knowing that Project 2025 was real. And a lot of people were saying it was fake. And where are those people at today?
Fake news, fake news, fake news. I wanted to say this and then get into some more seriousness, but we talked about folks in Africa that overthrow their governments when they're hungry. It's funny, been saying on social media, African mothers stating to their children, "Children, you must eat all your food. You must eat all your food." There's some starving children in America right now, so that's definitely a turn of fate. But I wanted to go and finish off the voting news, and then we can get into the other things that we wanted to talk about. So Prop 50, California, passed by a 64.1 to 35.1 margin. 35.9, I'm sorry, margin. 64.1 said yes, 35.9 said no to Prop 50. If you're not familiar, Proposition 50, I'm sorry, is the proposition that the Democrats put forward to redistrict the maps in California to give additional congressional House seats to Democrats in the upcoming election. This follows moves by Missouri, Ohio, Texas, chiefly, to do the same to counter and add seats to the Republican ticket. There are other states in thought of going through that. Maryland being one I know off the top of my head. I think Pennsylvania was considering something. There was just mumbles and grumbles. Don't know what Kentucky's going to do. Don't know what Indiana's going to do, but we'll see. Texas 18th district, which represents Houston, state level. There's going to be a runoff between brother. His name is Christian Menifee. He got 32.44% of the vote. Sister Amanda Edwards got 25.15% of the vote. And Jolanda Jones, couldn't find a picture of her, but her name is Jolanda. So ain't hard to figure out. She got 18.9% of the vote. Now, one candidate must get 50% or greater. So they're going to a runoff pretty soon to decide who's going to take that congressional seat in the great state of Texas. There was a lot going on again to summarize all this. for Tuesday. There were some unexpected margins coming out of this election. I don't think anybody really expected re- truly Republicans to pick up anything. You know, Virginia was a iffy because, as we said earlier, the president weighed in a little bit, but he really didn't put his full weight in any of these elections. I think he was terrified to put his full weight because he would look like a loser if they got wiped, and they got wiped, and he doesn't like to look like a loser. So even though he made generic statements about supporting folks, he really never gave his all 100% to anybody. To be honest with you, um, he wasn't on the trail. He wasn't making commercials. He didn't do any of that jazz, which is truly not the norm. But it's what he did. Uh, Johnson came out. You said something about Johnson earlier. He came out, and what the Republicans are trying to do right now are trying to label every Democrat in the same bucket as Mamdani. They're calling him a Marxist, a socialist, anything and everything in the damn book to try to tie the entire Democratic Party to his wagon. I don't think it's going to be effective. I don't think it's going to be effective because, as we said earlier on, the Democrats came out not just being against something, they came out being about something. And that something was the affordability. They've struck the hardcore chord about uh, health benefits and healthcare being a cornerstone, and a kitchen table topic. I think those are very good positions for them to push forward from. They came out fighting, they stuck to message, and they got there. I think they did learn something from the last go around, and it wasn't just, well, a vote for me just is a vote against Donald Trump. No, it was a vote for me, put me in, and allow me to take the charge and get you help where you need help. And where you need help are affordability, healthcare. We want to get folks educated in the trade so that folks can get back to work and making a living so they can become a part of the middle class. That was what they're selling. I don't know about the hope pipe dream that Obama sold and other people sold, but I do know that talking directly to people about the things that directly impact them has shown how effectual it can be, and that was on full display on Tuesday. Um,
And it made Gavin Newsom look like a viable presidential candidate. Boom.
okay, okay, I can see that. I can see that. You know, I was thinking about that today. I was saying to myself, this is not the time for the Democrats to let off the gas and be freaking stupid. I am not a sexist, but this election coming is not the time for them to put a female on the top of the ticket to try to make the first female president of the United States of America. This is the time for them to win. And we just saw the American public reject a female of yet another hue from becoming president of the United States of America. What would make you think that the next go around is going to be any different, especially in the current climate that we are in, when men, regardless of what side of the political spectrum they're on, feel like they are losing their space. This is not the time. It's not the time.
Mm,
It's not the time.
mm.
So we'll see. We'll see how smart or curious they may be come 2028.
So I would say this much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's about the gender that's on the ticket. And I think that Kamala has been taking an ass whooping that she does not deserve.
Okay.
I think that Biden's policies, no one wants to speak to. Biden screwed the people over. When he was going to do that reinvestment into America, he should have did the full amount. What we should learn from Donald Trump is the idea, and I'm going to say it again. The Republicans go 50% back the wrong way. 15% back ain't good enough. And that's what people were responding to. They weren't responding to Kamala's policies. We act like they weren't hiding Kamala the entire time up until they said that they no longer wanted Biden. That was a DNC choice. By the way, let's keep that in mind. The DNC said that they wanted him to step aside because of what happened at the debate. So she wasn't running on her policies. And the idea that she keeps getting put out there as this weak candidate, let's be real, it's weak policies that really won the day. And if people would have been seeing better results as far as the jobs, and 74% of the dollars that Biden reinvested back into the country went into red states. Oh, you mean the same states that voted for Donald Trump? You talking about those states? Imagine if those dollars would have went into places where the Democrat, in the Midwest, imagine if those dollars would have went into Ohio, or they would have went into Illinois, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. How about Virginia, where you have all of those people who are working those government jobs? What about Maryland? What about Jersey? Like, let's really talk about where did you invest the dollars and why you didn't have a voter turnout and he did. So I think that sometimes we're talking about gender, but I don't think it's gender. And we have to stop letting these Republicans punk us into believing that, because they needed Barack Obama. They needed Barack Obama because if America didn't have Barack Obama, nobody wanted to do business with the white man in America anymore. And after Trump, nobody's going to want to do business with the white man in America again. So we might want to think about this aspect that it's about the woman, it's about people in color. No, these white dudes fuck up, and they fuck up royally. And we need to learn that. We should learn that from Trump. We should learn that from Bush.
But what we learned as well, though, is her refusal, because she clearly said that she wouldn't change a thing that Biden did. That was her problem.
But Lee,
if she had stepped out and said, there's some things that we've done very well, but there's some other things under my administration.
You can say that when you know you've earned your way. You can't say that when something is handed to you.
Okay.
And that's part of it. To me, I feel like, once again, like the narrative, and I'm going to put this on the media too, because the media puts a lot of slop on her plate. The reality of it is two things. Biden said he was only going to run for one term.
Absolutely.
He should have kept his word.
Yep.
Should have kept his word.
Yep. Right? And should have prepared her after year one to take his place.
Right. The second thing is that they ran on using her popularity as a black woman to get black women out to vote. But what they did to her was they pushed her to the side, and she never really had a chance to put her stamp on anything. And listen, most policies don't come from vice presidents, but vice presidents can be the face of certain policies, right? She never was a face. But what I wanted to say about these women, and I'm not saying that a woman will come out to be a front runner. I don't want to say that or anything like that. But what I would say, what makes great competition is to have everything on the table, right? Because if you have everything on the table, we're learning from the Republicans is that they'll neutralize whoever you feel like the favorite is. So if you feel like the favorite is Gavin Newsom, then they'll just try to dig up some dirt on Gavin Newsom. And to try to bury him. They'll find out what his stress points are. And I do feel like, it should be open to who got the best ideas. I think that's what democracy should be about. Whoever got the best ideas that could turn this thing around, whether it's woman or man, we shouldn't even get in the business of that. But we shouldn't just elevate a person because they are a woman, though, or because they are melanated per se. People should get out there, and the best candidate needs to win.
I don't think it's us that did that to her. Again, us being us, the country rebuked that. And again, the country was.
Did we know?
Huh?
Did we know? I mean, because once again, we're talking about voter suppression. We're talking about voter box manipulation. We're talking about a lot of things. Well, we're talking about 6% inside of Virginia. We're talking about 6% inside of Jersey. We're talking about 6% inside of Pennsylvania. We're talking about 6% inside of Ohio. We're talking about these margins, and then we're looking at the voting irregularities. I don't necessarily want to say she was rejected, but I will say this much. And I know dude said Buttigieg. No, in my hometown, Buttigieg was the mayor. If the Democrats go with Pete Buttigieg, I'm good. Like I would rather have and let's not forget Newsom was also the guy who pumped fake those folks in California like he was going to support the reparations bill. There's a lot of people vying for that position and jockeying. And I'm gonna say this, and this is my last point about the next president. The only politician that I've liked thus far for it is the brother inside of Chicago. I think he will put belt to ass to any of those governors if they had to stand up there and debate.
Johnson. Okay. Rashi, what you think?
I'm over here cackling on belt to ass. Baby, I'm cackling. Don't give me the giggling behind the scenes. Um, as far as presidential candidates, right, Rodney? Who gonna pull us out the hole? Who's gonna be our international ally? Because if we can't find somebody who can talk to other people, we in trouble, right? Who's going to be honest with us about our economy? Because one of the things that's happening is we in some deep shit that they scared to tell us. You know what I'm saying? Like with that new, they try to tell you when we say we got a new credit rating. As a nation, we have a new lower credit rating. They try to talk to you about it when they say about gold standard no longer being the right standard because they got a shitload of new gold over there in Aquifer. That's how the kids call it, Aquifer. Is you Aquifer? Anyway, in Africa, they have two new serious depositories, and Scary Jerry is being run by that actual nation. They have figured out how to pull that shit out the ground by themselves. The presidents have invested in the machinery. They
Mm.
done scared all them goddamn what you call them?
Colonizers.
They, they done got them damn colonizers off of there. And so now it's time to reap the benefits of their own natural resources on the left. So you can't quite go gold standard because just Libya alone will blow us out the damn water, right?
Yeah.
So let's figure this out. What is our standard? What is our standard? What do we call ourselves? And our president, in his wizened self, said Bitcoin. This motherfucker said Bitcoin. And so if you don't even know what it means to do Bitcoin, how much water and electricity and computational machinery it takes to run Bitcoin operations as a nation, and some people say, well, you already sleep, Rashi. What do you think an ATM is? What do you think Cash App is? What do you think PayPal is? What do you think Venmo, Zelle? Come on, you know how we transfer our money over from one to another. Same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but look, Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
whoever come get us out of this hole, they gonna have to deal with the fact that them scary Jerrys are still alive. They only just now starting to die. They 175 years old. They've been harvesting the organs of people who fall asleep in hotel rooms in Las Vegas, Rodney. And so now they're starting to die and I'm afraid, Thomas,
Mm.
that we have to wait. And I'm not trying to be weird, Rodney. Please don't think I'm burning bread. I'm just saying that there is a classification of people that we are waiting on to die. And even though they have already set their money up to do maniacal shit even after they're dead, their grandsons have finally smoked enough cocaine to where they are ready. They are ready. They have partied with Lakeisha. They love rap music. They go to Ibiza. You understand what I'm not trying to be weird, but they have
Well, no, you're right. No, you're right. You talking you talking real.
They've been to Burning Man. They done burnt the man. They done fucking. They got a side baby in Thailand. They don't tell their uncle about. So what I'm telling you is they have doused themselves in the world enough that they're ready to squander all that damn money if the lawyer will let them. So what we have to do is wait on Pop to die. And he is holding on, baby. When I tell you them robber barons, you said robber barons, it's him. That motherfucker owned, I love you, Warren Buffett. Please don't come after me. But that motherfucker owned all the railroad track. We waiting on him to die and diversify. And he's actually trying to do it before death. I'd like to say big up to Warren Buffett on this show so he don't try to kill me. He has actually taken his money and realized that, oh my God, I will eventually die. Who knew? And he has put that, he's starting to put it in the hands of people who he think will keep America in their forefront of their mind, the development and the workings of America, the fundamental workings of America in their forefront. So he's hired people to come keep the I think he's is he Northern? What is he? Burlington? Burlington? What's that shit is he
Like
on down? I
he
know
lives in
he
Omaha.
I know he live in Omaha, but he got a whole line of railroad. He owned the railroad, by the way, but he got a whole line of it. I think it's Northern something, this or this or this, whatever the name is. Warren, he's smart. He is a robber baron, but he invested in America. So now our new claim for everybody who got that moon, y'all, is what, in the words of Janet Jackson, what have you done for us lately?
Mm.
Ooh, yeah. What have you invested in the American economy recently? If Warren Buffett can take his money and buy the railroad, Elon apparently then bought the fiber optic cable that's gonna push the AI. Somebody then bought the water. I forgot who is, but somebody bought all
Bill
that
Gates.
coke.
Bill Gates.
He got somebody got the water. I forgot who got it, but somebody done fuck around and bought all that. Everything that ain't international water is in somebody's pocket. And somebody is over Big Pharma. I don't know who that is pumping all them benzodiazepines into us because it's in the water. Because everybody taking it, so when we pee, it's in the water. Don't make me sound like a conspiracy theorist. I know it's real. So somebody owning all of these industries, right? And we already saw it in the Great Gatsby days, like our favorite president told us. He's warning us. Y'all don't love him, but he's trying to tell you. He said it's time for a crash again because the people, individuals own too much shit.
Mm.
Individuals own too much shit. And so let's do it. We waiting on them to die. The lawyers diversify among the grandsons. One grandson sell to the Indians. The other one go ahead on sell to the Chinese. Because you know we about to sell America to these blessed Chinamans of God. So we get to figure this out. We figuring this out step by step. Now who's gonna do that for us? Gavin? Mike? Who's gonna do it, Thomas?
Well, I would say that.
The dude from Chicago?
Hey, listen, man. Hey, brother speaks truth to power, and he's solid. And I don't think nobody at our best, if everything is fair, can beat us. I think that a lot of us just love white folks, and we think white people should be in charge, and we're saying white folks drive shit off the cliff, and we have to be honest about it.
And you
So
keeping
would you
in tow
support him?
anti-black sentiment. I'm sorry, hold on. Last question. You understanding that anti-black sentiment is global, not just regional or national. And
No. Rashi, anti-black sentiment is when everybody's eating. When they're starving, they're looking for a hero, and typically they want the black person to save them.
So you think him and Jasmine Crockett, VP?
No, won't work.
to get too
We don't.
hood.
Listen, I will say this from brothers.
Stacy,
I will say this from brothers, and I think this
Stacy Abrams,
kind of what she did, what she was kind of deficient at. When Barack
Stacy.
Obama ran, Barack ran, and he had Michelle as a wife. I don't think brothers want to see no black woman attached to no white man either. Period. Jasmine doesn't have a husband, and y'all know how this story goes.
Right.
We're not looking. We don't want to see scandal like
Right.
that. And listen, let's be real. Gavin has done a lot of things that make you think he's a front runner. But if you throw it out, this is how Barack Obama won. We got to put these horses out there. You got to run the race. Yeah, you look good in the preliminaries, but can you
On
run?
paper.
It looks great on paper. We're really not really checking out really how did the people in California feel? Like I said about Pete Buttigieg. Have you talked to the people in South Bend? I think folks kind of forget that town hall that happened when he ran for president inside of South Bend. Rodney, I know you remember. I know what my folks were saying back home about him. Hell no. And they didn't want to talk to him whatsoever. I think folks forget about the brother he threw up under the bus to come out to say he was gay. The brother who had fired those police officers for racial epithets that was on tape. And now there are some people in certain sections are saying he really isn't gay. He used that as a way to get favor. So I'm just saying, y'all, look, I don't know who's going to be next, but I do feel like we should not listen to the Republicans when they talk about these, what they call it, identity politics. What hurt the Democrats was they allowed the Republicans to schedule all these hearings on transgenders in sports. They allowed the Republicans to do it. What are the Republicans allowing them to do? Just so you don't have a hearing on Epstein,
Nothing.
this fool said, hey, everybody's on vacation until I feel like it. Right? So they
They
didn't
still getting paid.
come on. But they did not give them a choice to push a line. And so the lesson should be it's not necessarily about identity politics. And don't get me wrong, the identity politics did go a little bit awry, if you ask me, because it was not centered around pushing America forward. It was about pushing individuals forward. And if you're going to do anything on identity politics, the numbers have to show that it's a growth collectively, not just for a certain subset. But I think that the Democrats are going to have to learn how to govern based off of how the Republicans are not allowing them to govern. And you don't need to give them the venue. They gave them the venue. Everything I saw on transgenders, it was Republicans running the hearings. And I think, Brother Rodney, this was me and you were talking. And I was like, brother, every time I watch these hearings, there's always a black woman that has to defend who? The transgender population. Like time and time again. And they ran them out time and time again. Time and time again. And I watched several hearings and I saw at least 3 different sisters that was pretty much the face of transgender the transgender movement. Now you fast forward that to Kamala running, and you know how racism works in this country. They blur everything together. Whether you call Kamala black or not, if she got a tint to her skin, to them she's black. And we have to understand that about race in this country. If you got tint in your skin to racist white folks, you are black. So I just hope that the next election, that instead of just giving it to someone, as they said, Kamala got it, right? They said it was given to her. Let's see Gavin run the race. Let's see what he can do. How does he stand up in the debates? Let's see what Pritzker does, because I know the governor of Illinois probably wants to do it. And then we also know Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, he definitely wants to put his hat in the ring, and he would be the first Jewish president if he won. So let's see how all of this plays out. I think also one thing that we have not talked about in the presidential election that I think is going to be significant this time around is, what is your affiliation with Israel? Because I do feel like it's some Israeli fatigue for Americans. I think what happened in Gaza, I think that's going to be big in this next election. So I think if AIPAC is supporting you, you probably won't get a lot of American backings. And that's just based off of the new wave of voters who are currently, the same people that Trump is taking on. So those are the types of things that I feel like is going to pivot on, who actually gets the nomination, because people are going to be looking at all that. Gavin, he said Gavin kicks ass, and you've seen that
J.D.
not going to be able
Vance.
to
All
get
right.
the Jewish
And
thing.
y'all get ready. J.D.
What
Damn.
about JD Vance?
Who's next? Let's say it.
Oh, it's too much.
J.D. Vance.
It's
If
too
they gonna
much.
keep riding it, it's gonna be J.D.
So
Vance.
you know who
I,
JD Vance is? You know who JD Vance is? He's the Republican version of John Edwards. He's a
hmm.
he's a Republican version of John Edwards. And I think people forget about folks like that. And what I mean by that, he might not be an adulterer like John Edwards, but he's a phony. He's a phony. He wrote a whole book talking about what? Appalachian Mountains and the poor people and whatever, whatever, whatever. Right? Rubio's a phony too. He's a phony too. I think that people are kind of like this idea of putting yourself in bed with Trump is going to have you buried. I don't even think Republicans are going to want to touch that 30%. I think it's going to be about down to 15% when this is all over and said and done. And those people who are connected to Trump they're going to be a skunk of a party. They're going to stink. And in that stench, they won't be able to wash it off their bodies.
So, okay. Let's stick on Vance for half a second because I got questions. We've all seen that picture with him and the widow of Charlie Kirk.
Baby, because when the last time a
No,
woman rubbed her head, your back of your when the no, I want to talk about physical
I'm
touch.
asking the same thing.
When the last time, fellas, a woman touched that part in the back of your head, right there behind your ear, in the back, running up the back of your neck, in the back behind your ear, and
That wasn't your lady.
while you was in a front to front full embrace, cheek to cheek, running her fingers up the back of your.
Mm.
It's been a while. I thought so.
I'm just. Did that not look weird to anybody else? Did that not look suspect? Now remember, this happened right before he said publicly that he hopes his wife converts to Christianity.
Mm. Well,
Really?
I mean, look at what happened in Ohio. Y'all don't remember what they did to their boy Vatswani in Ohio? What the Republicans said in Ohio? Yeah,
Mm-mm.
you's a Republican, but you ain't white and you ain't Christian. What they
Mm.
told him at a forum. They can't rock with him because he's not white and he's not a Christian. Oh, so JD Vance is now saying what? His wife need to be a what? Ah, and she ain't what?
She need to be a white
Mm.
lady. Hey,
Oh,
but it's more than just her.
Nor Christian.
When you get her, you get because she still holds at least 50% of her husband's uh ideological fan base. So when you get her to rub her fingers up the back of your neck, what you get is more than just your kink off. You get almost a passing of Rodney, will you help me? When it's some mystical shit. I ain't trying to be funny. But when I get through touching you and rubbing you and I got power, essentially to the simple minded, I pass some of my power on to you in whatever capacity I have to give it. Her capacity was what we saw, a little bit of touchy feely, but in general,
You sure it wasn't that later on?
when you touch, this is also a Native American ideology. When if you have power and you physically touch, y'all know how the power to dap when you hold a brother's fist and you bring it in and you give him the "What's up, brother?" Somebody knows if you're a powerful man, if you dapping up another man, he either family or he also got power. Power that you're either giving him or bestowing him in your touch, or power that you're recognizing as status to status acknowledgement. So what she has is power, and it's sickening power because all she did was kind of glaze up her husband. But even with the glazing of a husband, you can get his trad white fan base.
mhm.
And when she touched that man up around his neck and hugged him, and that was the closest she could get without saying words of the transfer of her husband's power onto that gentleman. So I think you all need to get ready for President Vance. And now we need to talk about who he's going to run with.
Nah,
Whatever.
I think that
So,
we should give Americans more credit than that. And what I'm saying is, I think people are really ready for a change. And if something does not happen with a change in 2026 and 2028, I think the rigging of the elections will come out. And I think that'll be too much for them to handle. Then people will take to the streets. I think folks are over this. And what I mean by they're over it, they've seen enough. I think we're going to see a wide changing of a lot of things. I think reality TV won't be reality TV anymore. I think people are going to get rid of a lot of things that ushered into Trump. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who are making money, like life coaches and other things. I think all that shit's about to be out the window. I think that is going to be a hard reset on the country. And I do believe, which I think is good, I think that people are really going to get back to morality and principles and things of that nature. And I think that we should welcome that because that's really what's missing. I don't have a problem with with a white bigot. If that's his principles and that's his morality and that's what he's sticking on, hey man, you ain't gotta like me because I ain't gotta like you neither. But what I got the issue with is when you start choosing the Russians over this country, because we don't talk about that enough. We're not talking about the aspect that they are purposely trying to taint the economy, that they're purposely trying to hurt the country. These are not things that they're trying to help. They're trying to help themselves. And if we're not looking at it from that aspect, that there is a coup taking place in front of our eyes, and we're acting as if these people are trying to help the country. No, they're trying to help themselves. And that's the verbiage, that's the conversation, that's the lingo that we should be talking in because that's what's really taking place. And unfortunately, the only people that's going to speak like that is going to be the white supremacists because black folks are just too kind.
before we start to wrap it up, I wanted to drop this in. This is not the most important subject in the world, but it's something that really caught me, and I wanted to drop it to everybody else. Next year will be the final publication of the Farmer's Almanac. 2026 will be the ending of the run. They have announced that they are shutting down. The Farmer's Almanac has been produced every year since 1818. So that will mark 208 years that a Farmer's Almanac has been run, and it is coming to an end, unfortunately. Um, if you are young, and of a certain yet of a certain age, you know that the Farmer's Almanac was used by either your parents or your grandparents, maybe even your great grandparents, if you remember them, to predict when the weather was going to turn bad, and if you wanted to go camping, fishing, or if you lived in a port country like a port county or state like myself, crabbing, lobstering, or whatever you want to do. You use the Farmer's Almanac to try to figure stuff like that out. All things come to an end, and this is the end of the run for them. Uh, Something else caught my attention during the week. Unfortunately, it's a bit of sad news. Young fella played for the Dallas Cowboys, lost his life this week. He was a very young man, early 20s. From further research, found out that he committed suicide. Had some conversations that was revealed that he was suffering pain big time from the loss of his mom, and that may have very well contributed to that. I say all the time, you know, check on your strong friends because they're usually the ones that need it the most. One of our brothers called me the other day. He said, "Hey man, I wanted to call you and say what's up because the phone works both ways, and I know you very well call me a hell of a lot more than I call you. So I wanted to check in on you and say what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like it came at a very good moment too. I was sitting, I wasn't down or anything like that, but I was just sitting chilling, and I had some time, so it was very good to get that phone call. And we chopped it up for a little bit, and then he had to go, and I had to go. But it was definitely worth it. Um, Rashi, go ahead, start it off. You can wrap it up.
I just want to report that I have had a very good quarter. I moved 8 children into highly proficient. I moved 20 children into on grade level from one grade up. I
Okay.
moved 6 children up from basic to regular.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I also added 4 children to the below basic. But them folks didn't come from America, so I don't know how to chokehold them yet. I ain't found out the right cuss words in Kiswahili to motivate them other kids. But when I find out, I'm gonna get their asses too. What I'm trying to tell you is that I found my craft. I'm having a good time. Uh, and I'm ready to push forward. I am going to start doing some weird shit like putting my Cash App out there because I am now $375 into my own finances to keep my classroom an interactive applied science laboratory. My new project is growing because if you're going to play with my goddamn food, then I got to teach my children how to grow their own.
Yep.
But that came with soil, and I'm about to get renegade and start digging up the soil out the playground. So what? It's plenty of soil out there on that playground. Why we
Lord
can't
have
go get
mercy.
a few? Okay, never mind. So if it's either put my cash app out there, or start rendering state and federal and municipal land as viable land for classroom investigation. Stop. Okay. Well, you find a better way. If y'all over here giggling and shit, find a better way. Find the way. Y'all looking at food. I'm trying to show them how to grow the shit, and y'all giggling. And so that's where I'm at. And I want to thank you, brothers, again. Of course, you know I got grandbaby on board, and so thank you so much for allowing me to serve two masters. And have a good evening, y'all. Okay.
All right now.
All right.
Ronnie, what you got?
This election showed that the people still are the power in this country. And as long as the people know that, that should give them hope for the upcoming elections. But hope is kind of like prayer. Without works, it's dead. And we have to put in the work. You have to learn the system in order to play the system, in order to beat the system. We beat it this last election. It's not about D's and R's, but it's what's best for the American people and moving it closer to that so-called more perfect union. We got to start. Let's build on that, and let's keep in mind we got the nationwide blackout, November 25th to December 2nd, I believe it is. Please study what it is, learn it, and participate.
There you go. There you go. Thomas Berry, what you got?
So the young man who died in Dallas, his name is Marshawn Nealon, and that is my cousin Sylvester. That is his nephew. And so I want to
Sorry
just say
for your loss.
that Marshawn, he had family who had hope because he was a part of that generational change. Unfortunately, he lost his mother. And this is why the proponents of the app is important. This is why we want to have therapeutic support 24/7. So young men like Marshawn could have someone to talk to when he's depressed and he's battling depression. You know, people say, well, he just scored his first touchdown and everything was great. A lot has changed since he became a rookie. A lot of the guys that he talked to on the team, his peers are no longer there. There's no longer a Micah Parsons. There is no longer a Tank Lawrence. There's no longer a Chauncey. Those guys are all gone. Defensive coaches are all gone. The people that he probably would have been able to talk to that helped him. He had to deal with a lot of change as a young man. And when I've seen some of the comments on the conspiracy theories and things, no conspiracy theory needed. He was just depressed. And there's a lot of black men in the country currently dealing with depression. There's a lot of Asian men and Latino men and men in general who are dealing with depression. Brothers, reach out, talk to someone, talk to someone, and talk until you can't talk. And if someone calls you and they're telling you that they're suicidal and they're having suicidal ideations, don't pick up the next call. Keep talking to that brother because you never know. That might be your last time having that conversation.
Look, y'all. Thank you all for joining, listening live, listening later, watching live. Watch. I got to change that verbiage up, don't I? Until next, if no one's told you they love you, we do, and ain't a damn thing you can do about it. Until next week, family, I need to get out of here. My uncle came in to participate in a meet and greet for the travel group that he's with. He came in Thursday. So
Okay.
we've been together Thursday, Friday, and again today. He leaves out tomorrow. God willing, the creek don't rise because this damn shutdown is serious. Let's open the government back up when we can come to an agreement that works for all parties involved. Uh, this is going to get very dicey, though, as we get closer and closer to the holiday season, without a doubt. We are going to see some very bad effects on our economy if things don't change in the very near future. You're talking about hotels losing a boatload of money, airlines losing a boatload of money, uh, rental car companies, hell, even the gas station losing a boatload of money. Hey, I had the pleasure of meeting with what's the brother's name? Roy Wood Jr. the other day. He came to Atlanta for a comedy slash book tour. It was amazing. Got a couple of minutes on the side to talk to him. He's a real cool cat. Looking forward to additional conversations with him in the future. We'll see if we can work some things out. But I wanted to shout him out. Thank you, sir, for taking a moment to give me your ear. And I very much appreciate that. Yo, look, y'all be good. Until next week, be safe. And like we say always about this time,